Hi everyone. So we'll give everyone a few minutes here. Let's see. I have that ready to go. So we'll do the drawing of the competition first. I calculated it this morning, 224 entries. So that's a pretty good probability of winning, I think. So we will click the button and see what happens. If you recall last time, it was I hit the button and number 1 came up, which is weird, right? For the comment about the 9080 XT, stay tuned. We're going to discuss what could be coming out, right? So hang in there for a moment, and we'll get to it. Yeah, this will be fun. All right, and it's been sitting here for a while, and I know I announced this competition a little while ago, actually. I think it was early May, so I know you've been patiently waiting. This is the card. It's been sitting here all packed up, ready to ship out for a while. It's all nicely packed. The box is in good shape, right? So all good. And I'll get it shipped out next week to the lucky winner. So without further ado, let's click the button and see who the winner is. So I'm not going to share the list, obviously, on screen, just for people's privacy, but all right, so without making any jokes, right? Lucky number 69. So let me see who that is. Okay. It is actually, I think the person is on the stream, which is even cooler. Congratulations to Asus. So congratulations, buddy. You just won yourself a 5070 Ti. You're a Supersonic member, and I really appreciate that. So as I explained, Supersonic members got 10 entries, so congratulations. Lucky number 69. So I'll reach out to you, or you can shoot me an email to send me your address, and then we'll work out the shipping next week. But congratulations, buddy. Really happy for you. And thank you to everyone who participated and entered. Towards the end of this stream, I'm going to talk about the new giveaway, which is pretty cool. It's sponsored. So I'm going to do a video on it, and we'll do a giveaway, and they're going to ship it to you. So that'll make my life a little bit easier as we do these. But it's going to be pretty exciting. So hang on for that. But congratulations. AJ is Asus's name. So congrats, buddy. I'm really, really happy for you. So it's great. It's actually great that you're on the stream, because it's always nicer. Last time I had to wonder whether, I think it was Ben, was, there's always a chance that he says, hey, the shipping to Australia is way too high, and I'm not going to do it. So there was always that chance, but it's great to have someone here, and so congrats. All right, let's jump into some content here. Okay, so we did the giveaway. Next, let's see. All right, I wanted to quickly follow up on the Apex issues that I had. So this is to catch everyone up, I was able to get my hands on an ROG X870E Apex. If you're not familiar with those motherboards, they're pretty impressive. 2D motherboards designed for overclocking. This one has a fan to cool the RAM. It's a very impressive board. I've used them a lot in the past for Intel CPUs, and that's what they were designed for. This is the first one I can remember that's been developed for AMD CPUs. So I started doing some memory testing, and I realized that there were a bunch of issues. I did a community post on that, so you can check that out. But there are a couple of issues that I let Asus know about. They've since released a new BIOS update that came out, what was it, a week ago? And it just says enhanced system performance and stability. that wasn't really my issue. My issue was not really applying the PBO, which was a very odd issue. So I'm hoping that this has solved the issue. I do plan to do memory testing on it, although this time I'm not going to use the 9950 X3D. I'm going to do memory testing with a 9800 X3D and a 9700X. So both 8-core, 16-thread CPUs. One of them has 3D V cache, one of them doesn't, right? So I think that's going to be super interesting to compare the two and to see the impact of cache latency, speed, FCLK on two different CPUs on the same motherboard. So stay tuned to that. That's a lot of testing, so it's going to take me a little while. So bear with me on that one. Let's see. So that's where we're at with the Apex. So before we move on, let me just catch up on some questions. Let's see. What do you think is better for gaming, a 9700X or a 14700K? I'm not sure when the 9700F is expected out. So the 14700K is a really great chip, and it's come down a lot in price. Now, you know, Intel obviously had issues with Raptor Lake, which I think has been resolved. They did, I think I mentioned this the last live stream, they did release a new BIOS update to which they claim finally fixes everything, but they claimed that 3 or 4 months ago. So let's assume that it is fixed. So assuming that it is fixed and everything's good, I personally like the 9700X. It has been my favorite CPU to test in this generation. I may have gotten lucky and gotten a golden sample. I don't have multiple chips to really compare for the 9700X. So bear that in mind, but I really love that chip. So it's hard for me to go against it. The 14700K will likely deliver slightly better performance, particularly in applications, because it's running with a lot more cores, right? And it is hyper-threaded, unlike the new Core Ultra processors that have removed hyper-threading. So that's my take. I think the 9700X is the way to go, but I couldn't hold it against you if you went the 14700K route. Pricing is very good. I'll tell you what is good pricing at the moment. The 265K has come down a lot, and I will be including that in a head-to-head against the 9700X and 9800 X3D in a coming video. But the pricing of that has really come down. Clearly, Intel can't sell them, so that's why. But that really does enhance the value of that chip, so keep that in mind. Let's see. Yes, I do have an Australian accent. I've lived in the US since 99, so I've been here a long time, but my accent is still, it's kind of messed up now. It's a bit American, bit Australian, kind of somewhere in the middle. All right. There's a question here. Do you know anything about ASRock boards breaking 9800 X3D, right? So, yes, I do. This has come up a lot, actually. So, my perspective on this, a lot of the larger channels created a great deal of hype around this that was completely unnecessary. To be honest, they created a great deal of hype around Raptor Lake issues too. I think that was somewhat called for, at least. But this one was isolated to ASRock boards, and there were few cases, right? It wasn't like this was happening to all CPUs or 9800 X3Ds that are on ASRock boards. So ASRock released BIOS update. It was a firmware problem, right? As these usually are. And ASRock released firmware updates. So if you're running an ASRock board, I would highly recommend updating your BIOS. And that shouldn't even be an issue. So I wouldn't worry about it. If you've got an ASRock board, update your BIOS, you should be good. These things typically get blown out of proportion. If you see, as we enter the North American summer, when views typically go down because a lot of people are outside, at least for the American viewership, like Canada, US, you'll see a little bit more drama or hype because people are trying to get views. So just bear that in mind. This one isn't necessarily that, but it was way overhyped, in my opinion. I would be concerned if I had an ASRock board and 9800X3D, but just update your BIOS. That's really the best thing to do there, right? Random also said Intel still has issues. Yeah, I think that a lot of those issues are likely from people that didn't update their BIOS, and that's the challenge, right? The way Intel went about this, I did not think was very good at all. They kind of waited until they got caught and then said they're fixing it. That's not cool. So yeah, I have an issue with how they handled it for sure. But I think if you update your BIOS, you should be good. I don't know for sure. I can't confirm that for sure, but you should be good if you update your BIOS. That's my perspective. And just to be clear, in all of the testing I did of Raptor Lake, and I tested a lot of different Raptor Lake chips, and I have a system built around the 14900KS that I still use quite heavily. I've not had an issue. So it's one example of someone not having an issue. So it may be widespread, and I may have just gotten lucky, right? Let's see. Let's see. Do you know of any way to fix a bricked 5090? Oh, wow. I'm sorry, Joey, to hear about that. There's so many scams out there. I don't know how to fix a bricked 5090. The only thing I would say is, does it have a dual BIOS switch? So if one of the BIOSes is, like say performance mode is bricked, you can switch to quiet mode and you should be able to boot it up and be fine. So it's really helpful when you get a 5090 or a high-end card to buy one with dual BIOS, and most do have that. So take a look. If not, I feel bad for you. That's not a good situation. Let's see. I got a question here about thoughts about the 9070 XT and 5070 Ti. So that is my next video. It'll be out next Friday. I'm filming it tomorrow so we can edit through the week and get it out Friday. I've completed all the benchmark testing. Basically, and I did a community post on this, basically Nvidia really improved the performance of their drivers, and it did impact the results. So if they're, what was the question was about if they're at the same price. So they're so close. Let's just say at 1440p, they're almost identical performance. It really comes down to choice and features and other things. I'm going to cover that in the video, so I don't really want to, ruin the surprise. But it's a tough choice because it legitimately is a tough choice, and it should be because they're very close in performance. So stay tuned for that video, and you'll hopefully get your answer, right? Oh, that's cool. I didn't know Newegg had a deal on the 9700X for $179. That's awesome. With a free NVMe drive, that's even better. Wow, that's very cool. I might buy an extra one for that. That's very cool. I had a comment here about the 9700. So someone's 9700X dying on an ASRock B850. That's interesting. So when you say the BIOS that you used was version 3.25, does that mean that it was the latest version, or was that an earlier version? I'm very curious. I'd love you to follow up with me on how ASRock responds to you. That's quite interesting. It'd be kind of cool to get my hands on that. So very cool. Thank you for that, DayZeus. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. That's interesting. So there's a comment here about watching Brian's input from Tech Yes City. It's another fellow Australian. Let's see. Didn't watch. Yeah, no, I think Brian. I like Brian, and I like Tech Yes City. I think he did a good job covering it, but I think some of the other larger channels jumped on board. Brian was covering this from the start, so I give him credit there, and I think he took a very reasonable. I think he took a reasonable approach to dealing with it. and he experienced this issue himself. So there's no better way to cover this than if you experience it yourself. So I think that's good. All right, I'll jump back into the questions in a moment. Let me just move on to the next topic. So the next topic was the rumors. So I typically don't cover rumors on the channel because they typically end up being unreliable. But there's a couple that have come up that I get a lot of questions about and I want to address. And so again, these are things that no one can confirm because they haven't officially been released. But I think they're reasonably good quality rumors that it's worth at least discussing. So bear that in mind. So Intel's next processors that are coming out are called Nova Lake. So these are their next set of desktop processors, and some information has been released by a leaker online, and this person has a pretty good track record of releasing good information. And what was interesting to me, and by the way, these aren't really due out until latter half of 2026, so it's going to be a while. And I think there could be a Core Ultra 200S refresh later this year. And that may give the current CPUs a little bit of a boost and allow you to use, if you've bought one of the motherboards, one generation more. So the downside of Intel typically and of Nova Lake is it's going to be a new motherboard. And I hate that, and I know a lot of people do. It's an advantage of AMD, but it does allow them to take larger jumps in performance between generations. That's why they do it. I think that's the primary reason, and they really do need to take a jump in performance to compete. So the thing I really like is that one of the high-end CPU is supposed to have 16 P cores, which is double what the 285K has now. And if you recall, that's very annoying. If you recall, the 285K has 8 P cores, but no hyperthreading, right? So the E cores become way more important in the grand scheme of things. So this new, what would be potentially a 385K, I don't know, I'm just making that up because this is a leak, would have double the P cores, which would make it, it should really improve its gaming performance. 32 E cores, so double the E cores. So it's basically accounting for the fact that there's that the threads are the same as the cores, right? So hyperthreading would double the effective CPUs. That's basically what it did. And then there's this new thing called low power efficient cores, which I assume is to help reduce the power in idle and other things. So it's going to have 4 of those. Pretty amazing chip. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it and testing it, if this is true. But quite interesting. So this would be a pretty cool power move by Intel, and remember, this would be competing potentially, if it's the second half of 2026, it might be competing against an AM6 socket. I expect another round of CPUs from AMD later this year for the current AM5 socket. So what Intel could be competing against is an AM6 socket brand new CPU. So it's going to be very interesting. I wanted to bring this up because I thought it was cool, but there's another cool thing that came out about it, and it's this second part. That 8,000 megatransfer per second memory would be the let's see, the fully Intel approved memory support for that platform, which is incredibly good if that's what it is. So for example, I ran my 285K with DDR5 9000, didn't have a problem. That's about the limit of Gear 2 for Intel platforms. And with the Core Ultra processors, the memory controller is so good that you can run 8,000 and above pretty easily. For Raptor Lake, it was a challenge to get 8,000 and above working. For Core Ultra, it's not. And in fact, with the CUDIMs, it drops the voltages because they have a voltage regulator on there, and it's even easier. But even the Core Ultra 200S system or CPUs only supported DDR5 6400 kind of natively without overclocking. This would be 8,000 without overclocking, so it'd be fully covered by your warranty. That's a very, very cool move by Intel, and it shows that it looks like Nova Lake will have a very good memory controller. So I'm very interested to see that as well. The I really do think the performance of these will be good, and I think it will bring Intel back into the more competitive landscape. Although, if you configure the chips well, if you look at my 285K versus 9950 X3D comparison, the 285K is actually a very good chip when configured properly. So, so this will be interesting. Clearly, the larger channels that just test in stock configurations, this I think is who Intel is targeting by running 8000 base, right? Because they'll just plug it in, turn XMP on, and test. So, so that should give them a boost. And I really do think AMD with their next socket really need to fix or improve their memory controller because they're leveraging 3D V-cache to compete versus Intel here. I really do think if they added a more sophisticated memory controller that has a slightly different architecture so that installing higher speed RAM gave you a benefit, you didn't have to drop to 2-to-1 ratio, that would be a killer move by AMD as well. So interesting things with the new Intel processors. Again, second half of 2026, so it's not happening anytime soon. And I really do think they'll launch a refresh later this year. I think it's in their best interest to do it, right? Basically use the silicon they already have. I think that would be good. Let's see. Wow, lots of questions today. I might continue and then kind of go through the questions at the end. I think that, and I'll just scroll through them and try and cover them. I think that'll be the best use of time. Let's see. Okay, so the other topic that I wanted to cover was a rumor around an RX 9080 XT. So Asher, I'm sure you're familiar by now. The highest end GPU that AMD released this generation was the 9070 XT. They released that and with the intent that they were going to skip the higher tier cards. Hey, thanks Azalea for becoming a member. Really appreciate that, and thanks for joining the stream. So, I really do appreciate all the support that you guys and girls give me. It really does make a difference. So the reason I wanted to address this is that I think that I get a lot of questions about, is there going to be a 9080 XT? The answer is I don't know, but it looks like rumors are pointing to having one. And is there going to be, and that would compete versus a 5080 or a 5080 Super when that's released likely in January of next year. And then is there going to be a 9090 XT? So I'm pretty confident there's not going to be a 9090 XT, and I want to show you why. And I'm also confident that this number for the power here is wrong. And let me, for a 9080 XT, and I think this is likely why AMD originally decided not to launch the higher end cards for this generation for RDNA 4. And I think it's power efficiency. So let me show you this chart. This is actually from the new video that's coming out on Friday. And this is a Red Devil 9070 XT at stock conditions, so it's factory overclocked, versus a 5070 Ti Vanguard SoC at stock conditions, again, factory overclocked. And if you look at this, you get a sense of, and it's score in Steel Nomad, Port Royal, and Speedway per watt. So it's power efficiency in those 3D Mark applications. And you can see that Nvidia has a significant advantage over AMD this generation in power efficiency. And why that's important is if you look at, say, Steel Nomad, look at the power draw difference between these cards. So these are similar tiered cards. The 5070 Ti is drawing 305 watts, whereas the 9070 XT is drawing 389 watts. Now go down to Speedway and you see the 5070 Ti is drawing 301 watts. This is the maximum draw through one run of Speedway. Whereas the 9070 XT is drawing a whopping 406 watts. Now, when I overclock these cards, the power draw for the 9070 XT went up to 450 watts. So if you look at that and you think, okay, a 9080 XT would have a much higher power draw, let's say at 100 watts. So going from 406 to 500 to 550, you're getting very close to the limit for one 12-volt high-power connector. I don't think any AMD add-in board partner is going to put more than 3 standard 8-pin connectors. I think they're all going to move to the 12-volt high power for a 9080 XT. I'm getting confused with the terminology here. So I don't think you're going to see a 9090. I think the power draw would be way in excess of 600 watts. Nvidia 5090 draws 600 watts. In like stock conditions is drawing 580 watts. It's crazy. So an AMD competitor would draw way above that. So I don't think they're going to want to go down that route and have 2 12-volt high power connectors. And when I'm running a 5090 and it's pulling in 600 watts, the coolers are efficient, but man, do they dump a lot of heat into the room. Like I can physically feel the temperature in my test room go up a lot. So I just don't think that that a 9090 is going to happen. I think a 9080 could happen, but again, I think you're going to find they're going to be 12-volt high power connectors that are used on all the cards. Now, a Sapphire Nitro Plus 9070 XT already uses a 12-volt high power connector, so I think it'll be easy for them to make a 9080. But I'm assuming that AMD saw the success of the 9070 and said, hey, why don't we make a 9080? That's what I think happened. So maybe we might see one around CES early next year, which would launch the same time as a 5080 Super. And this is me just projecting, I guess, or assuming that might happen. But I wanted to cover that because it comes up a lot. These questions come up a lot. And I think you can look at the data to really understand why they might or might not be developing a certain variant. So from my perspective, I think a 9080 XT would be possible and likely. I think it might actually be likely. A 9090 XT, I think, is extremely unlikely. So 5090 will sit there. As a result, I don't think you're going to see a 5090 Ti or anything because Nvidia has no competition. I don't know why they would bother doing that, right? All right, let's see. What are we up to? All right, I thought this might be cool. So something that comes up a lot, and I've included it in some of my recent videos, of how to keep your PC, a Windows PC, running well. I'm not sure about Linux. I'm going to soon do a video on Linux and compare that to Windows because it's becoming a lot more popular. But there's a couple of things I do relatively often to keep my PC running well. And so I thought I would share those with you. The first one is, and you should do these by going down into search, typing in CMD, a command prompt, right-clicking on it and opening it as an administrator. So the first command that I'm going to cover is called dism, and it basically makes sure that your image is correct and not corrupted. And it's important to do this before you run the SFC command, which I've talked about before. But you should run the dism command, I don't know, once every 3 months maybe. The SFC command I run weekly, basically. Or if I'm doing heavy overclocking and I get a lot of reboots, or I'm doing a bunch of things and I'm getting the system rebooting a bunch, or you get some blue screens, that type of thing. So the first command is, you can see it here, dism/online/cleanup image/check health. So the first thing you're doing is checking the health. So I ran this on the system I'm using right now earlier this morning to take these screenshots, and sure enough, the component store, so there's a problem because the component store is repairable and the operation completed successfully. So all this did was check the health and said there's an issue, but it's repairable. So the next command that you run is the scan health. And so this will go through and say and verify that the component store is repairable. And that's basically it. So check health and scan health, you don't have to run check health, but you do. It's a good idea to run scan health, because if it says there's no issue, you don't need to run the next thing, which can take a little bit of time. So the next command I run is, let's see, it's the same command, dism online cleanup image. So online means it's going online to get the image, which is the right thing to do. you could potentially have an issue with that, and you would have to download an image and do it locally, but I'm not going to cover that here. And the command that actually fixes things is restore health, and that will go through, and it might take a little bit of time, and it might hang on 62.3% for 10 minutes. Just let it run. If it hangs on that for hours, then you might want to close it down and try it again. I've had that happen once, oddly enough. But if you let it run, it will run through to 100%, and it'll say the restore operation completed successfully. So now the files, your Windows files, your image on your drive is correct, right? So now you can proceed to run all right, that's good. I just had, this is still an Nvidia driver issue. I'm running two screens, and one of the screens goes black, and I'm running one of the screens with DisplayPort and the other one with HDMI. It's a very weird thing that that has been happening, and they still haven't fixed it with the latest drivers. So interesting. So the next command is sfc/scan now. This is one of my favorite commands in Windows, and when you run it, I didn't have any corrupt files, but I will almost guarantee that if you've never run this on your system, it will find corrupt files and hopefully fix them. If it doesn't fix them, that's a whole nother issue, but hopefully this will fix your files. This is something that I think should be shared more, but this is something I recommend running reasonably often, particularly if you've been doing some overclocking, undervolting, messing around with your system, experiencing driver problems, installing, uninstalling, reinstalling, that type of thing. I would certainly run this. Very, very powerful. And you can run, this has got nothing to do with AMD, Intel, run it on any system. By the way, I run this command after I do a new install of Windows, and half the time there's corrupt files, even with a brand new install of Windows. So go figure, right? Pretty powerful set of commands. The other thing I do is I actually quite like Revo. I like the registry cleaner. There's a lot of people that say do not run registry cleaners, doesn't do anything, doesn't slow down your system. I'm not one of those people. I don't know whether it's just kind of being anal about this stuff, but I do notice a difference when I run these things. So Revo Uninstaller is pretty cool. By the way, just download the free versions, unless you're using it for professional reasons, right? Revo Uninstaller is great because it not only, when you uninstall an application, it will allow you, it will automatically for you, if you click the button, allow you to go in and get rid of the registry files, but also it will wipe out any remaining files that are just somewhere on one of your drives. So I love that feature. And then the registry cleaner is a registry cleaner, right? And it'll do backups and other things for you so that if something goes wrong. I've never really had an issue using this, but this is a tool that I use pretty often, so I just wanted to share that with you. And I think that was it. So the before we get into this, let me take a look at some of the questions and catch up a little bit here. Let's see. Let's see. I downloaded the. Oh man. All right. Let me scroll up to the top. So there's a comment here about the 9700X paired it with 6400 CL32. So ZunQ is saying that they were unable to get their 6400 CL32 kit running in one-to-one mode. That is the challenge with running higher speed memory kits. 6400 is basically the limit. 6600 is kind of the real limit, but you'd have to have a platinum sample chip for that to work. I've never gotten that to work stable. 6400 I've gotten to work quite a lot of times. In fact, if you look at my memory video, that was done on a 9700X, that chip was amazing. But there's two things that you've got to remember. There's an element that's your memory controller on your CPU and an element that's your motherboard. So, and look at my memory video to really understand how it's all connected. And but you absolutely can get 6400 to run stable if you're lucky, right? So keep that in mind. So the fact that you didn't get it to run, like, it's hit or miss. I based on my experience, it's kind of, I don't know what the percentage is, but maybe it's 50% of the time I can get it to work easily. And when I mean easily, I mean go into BIOS, set Expo at 6400, set FCLK at 2133, and you'll see the reason why for that in the memory video, and see if that works, right? But again, there's two elements here. It's the memory controller, so that's silicon lottery, and it's also the quality of your motherboard as well. Let's see. So someone called Online Cheaters Exposed said 1-to-1 only works for 6000. That's not true, right? 1-to-1 mode will work up to 6400, and then you kind of have to switch to 2-to-1 mode for it to be stable, to have a chance of being stable. Some motherboards will automatically switch to 2-to-1 mode above DDR5 6000, so that you might be getting confused with that. But you can manually go in there and set 6400 in 1-to-1 mode, which is what I would recommend. See, what else? Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Zalia, you correctly stated that if you manually set UCLK equal a mem clock to 1-to-1 mode, that's the way to force it. And a lot of motherboards, again, will automatically go to 2-to-1 mode. By the way, this is crazy to me, and I mentioned it in my recent video, and again, look at my memory video, and I'm going to be releasing a new memory video that's going to be much more comprehensive. But it's fascinating to me that I've seen expert PC building companies like Paradox. They built a PC for Kevin Durant from the NBA, and they used DDR5 7200 RAM. I'm like, that's insane. That will inherently be in 2-to-1 mode. There's no way they're getting that in 1-to-1 mode to work. And because of that, it will be slower than DDR5 6000 in 1-to-1 mode. So that was that shows you, like, even like the professional PC builders don't really understand how the AMD AM5 Ryzen-based memory subsystem works. I highly recommend checking out my video. I drew a diagram to help explain it. But yeah, when you understand it, it becomes easy to manage and tweak. It's very odd to me. And it's very different than Intel. Intel's much more linear, which I think a lot of people get confused about, especially if they're coming from Intel to an AMD system. So I have a question here. If you still have a 7900 XTX, which I do, actually my production rig, which is that one behind me, I've got a cover on it, but that has a 7900 XTX, and I have multiple 7900 XTXs that I still test. Could you test Warzone since the Verdansk update stutters? That's interesting. I did see some comments around AMD came out and stated that they had a driver issue in Warzone. I'm not sure if that's fixed yet, but I don't play Call of Duty. It's typically not my jam. I'm more of a strategy games. I love Baldur's Gate 3. I love XCOM, Civilization. That's kind of more my jam. But I'll try it out and see if I can replicate it. Let's see. I'm just catching up on some questions here. Celia said, when I joined, I saw you had a Giza 1.2.03 on screen. Some people reported issues with that, and I'm on. Oh, so yeah, I had some. So that's a great comment, Azalea. Hopefully I'm saying your name there correctly. Something I experienced with these different Agiza updates was, so this is interesting. I never talked about this, but I'm glad you brought that up. So when I was testing the Apex, I tested a lot of different memory kits, and I did a lot of tweaks to get the memory kits working. I can't remember exactly what. Oh, it was the really high speed. I was running DDR5 8200 with a 9950 X3D on my Apex in 2-to-1 mode. And to get it stable, I had to increase the VDD and VDDQ slightly, right? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look at my latest video where I go through and discuss how to tweak VDD and VDDQ and what it means, right? I updated the BIOS to what was the latest AGESA, which is a step before the current one that's out as of a week ago. And I had to add more VDD and VDDQ, more voltage to get the exact same memory kit stable. So that wasn't good. So I backed off to the previous BIOS version. So I have not tested the latest BIOS version, but there's a warning. The latest BIOS version for AMD, this latest AGESA, whatever it was, 1.2.0.3e, which I'll back up to. This is actually, I'm so glad you reminded me. There is a warning here. All right, you see it, number 3? Important. This update is irreversible. Rolling back to older BIOS versions is not supported. So, as I said, I just haven't had time to retest that same memory kit in my Apex. I'll try and do it tomorrow and let you know. But the problem is, if it's somehow messed up, you're stuck. You can't roll back to old versions. So I don't know why, but just bear that in mind. So really good question, Azalea. I appreciate that. So at the moment, I can't recommend going to this because I don't know what impact it has. I would stick with 1.2.0.3c just because I had some issues with D, and it may be why they released E so rapidly. By the way, I don't know what for upcoming CPU compatibility means. It's probably for those F models, right? The non-X models of the different CPUs. That's my guess. But anyway, so yeah, really good question. By the way, Zun Q, just because you can't get 6400 stable, you may be able to get 6400 stable, by the way, if you increase your VDD and VDDQ a little. So again, look at my latest video and follow that process. But you could always back off to 6200, right? So it'll still give you a small boost over 6000. So just bear that in mind, right? If you can't get 64, you very likely will be able to get 6200, and you should also be able to tighten your timings a little too. By the way, I've got to not hit the desk. I notice that every time I hit the desk, the microphone's so sensitive. I got a new microphone that you hear the thud in the playback. So I got to remember not to do that. I'm sorry about that. Let's see. Celia said that your motherboard had trouble running at 3200, which double data rate is DDR5 6400. So yeah, so you ran at 6000 with an FCLK of 2033 megahertz. So yeah, that's fine. I mean, in the next memory video, I'm gonna show a plot of FCLK versus memory speed, and kind of show you the performance change with increasing FCLK. I haven't figured out exactly how to do this yet, so we'll see. Yeah, there's a comment here, AMD needs competition. I agree. Look, competition, regardless of if you have some kind of brand alignment, competition is healthy for everyone. Look at what happened when Nvidia didn't have competition. We all knew this was going to happen. They have no competitor to the 5090, and what's the 5090? Like, you have to take a mortgage to buy one, right? And then, their behavior kind of becomes anti-consumer. So yeah, competition is good. It's very necessary. I keep telling people this. If AMD gets into a dominant position, I'm worried that they're going to show anti-consumer behavior, right? So it's not good for us if any company gets into a dominant position. It's just not healthy. So yeah, hopefully Intel's next chips will be highly competitive with whatever AMD releases, and you have a choice. Go down the AMD path if you want, go down the Intel path if you want. Prices come down because there's competition, it's all good. I'm a little worried about Intel because the CEO came out and said that they will only develop and release products that give them a 50% profit margin. So that's interesting. Let's see. Yeah, so Azalea, I made the comment in my videos about running ratios. So there's a clear advantage, and I'll show you this in the next video I do on memory, to running your system that's synchronized. So you can do that in 2-to-1 mode very easily. For DDR5 8000 memory, right, double data rate, it's at 4000. In 2-to-1 mode, it's in 2000. So running FCLK at 2000 megahertz will give you a fully synchronized system. So I would highly recommend doing that. If you happen to run 8400 and get it stable, do the same thing. In 1-to-1 mode, it's different. You can't run the system fully synchronized. There is a slight advantage to running in 3-to-2 mode, and I show that in the video, but I really need to show that in some charts. You may get a more of an advantage, for example, running FCLK of 2100, fully not synchronized in any way, shape, or form. But we're talking about, when I talk about synchronized, clocks being synchronized, right? So clocks are cycles, right? And so if information can pass at the same rate or cycle, you get a small advantage, right? Because that means one part of the memory subsystem is not waiting for another part, right? If you think of a circle, right? So that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm looking forward to actually showing the data for that. All right, so that's comment of the day by Doom Expert, I guess it is. This sucks. I just updated my PC after 15 years and there is so much new stuff, much better than previous generation coming. That is, I'll tell you, that is the PC enthusiast gamer curse, right? There is always something better around the corner, and it doesn't matter what you do. And I think it's more painful when you spend more money. Like if you buy a 5090 and then all of a sudden Nvidia releases a 5090 Ti, it hurts. It's painful, right? So yeah, I mean that's the curse, right? And it's also the curse that makes enthusiasts like us want more, right? Oh man, that just came out. I want to get that, right? It is one of the reasons I started the channel, because I love this stuff. So now I can kind of justify to my wife why I'm buying some of this stuff, right? I used to feel so guilty buying it. I still feel a little guilty, but at least now it's focused towards some kind of business activity, right? Now I don't make a lot of money from this channel, at least yet. I'm hoping to in the future, and I'm working on some cool ideas around how I might be able to do that. That's a little unconventional, so that I can keep bringing you content without filling it up with sponsorships and ads and things. I just don't like that approach. So that's why I've been avoiding in my videos doing that. I'll announce that in the near future, by the way. One other thing while I remember, it was a really cool idea, and I don't know if you're on the live stream, please speak up. I have it saved. So someone suggested that we should call the community that we're building at Blackbird PC Tech the Blackbird Army, and I absolutely love that. So I'm gonna get some t-shirts made up for that. They'll be on the Blackbird PC Tech store, and I'm trying to think of kind of what logo to use with that, because I want to use a different, more unique logo. And I was thinking, for those of you that are members, I showed that that logo that was one of my finalists for my logo for my business here in my company, of the kind of like the Blackbird aircraft with the orange like sun behind it. I'm thinking that might be a really cool logo for the Blackbird Army, instead of Blackbird PC Tech having Blackbird Army written there. So anyway, just, it was cool. I've been thinking about how to brand the community, and so that was cool. So I appreciate that. If you got any ideas or thoughts like that, please share them with me. And by the way, on YouTube now, you can go in and just start your own comment, right? It doesn't have to be on a video. So it's basically a community post area for viewers. and subscribers. So feel free to jump on there, just talk about anything, right? It doesn't generate revenue or anything for me, but it's a cool place for us to communicate as a community. I will have another path for that in the near future that I'm working on, but I think that's a great place to talk about this stuff. And just share, right? Like your, and by the way, any members that want to share with the larger community your builds, please shoot those to me, and I'm happy to post those for the world to see. I think it's pretty cool. Let's see. So Doom Expert, I feel your pain. That's part of the process, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, so Azalea commented around the AMD experience was when they were basically being Nvidia with overpriced cards. So I remember back, and I don't know how many of you remember this, but I remember back when I bought this high-end machine from a company that's no longer around called Voodoo PC. And by the way, I'm friends with the previous owner of Voodoo PC, which is Raul Sood. He became the CTO of Microsoft, and now he's doing his own thing. Really interesting guy. But I bought my PC from there, and I had an AMD FX 53, and then AMD was riding high. They were, at that time, it was single core processors before multi-core came around, and I upgraded it to the FX 57, which I think was the fastest single core processor at the time, really whooping Intel's butt. And then multi-core processors came, and that's when Intel took back their dominance. AMD stock dropped to $1 a share, and Intel took off, and that's kind of, and AMD's worked their way back up since. So AMD did, this is why I'm concerned. When someone gets into a dominant position, they stop innovating. That's number one. Happened to Intel. They became so dominant, they just keep releasing the same thing over and over again, sticking another label on it. Stopped innovating, because that costs R&D dollars, so your profit goes down when you do that. AMD did the same thing, and then it took them nearly going bankrupt to kind of see the light and start doing that again. So no, these are for-profit companies. Just remember that. None of them are on our side. That's why competition is very important, right? Now, I agree that companies today, there's certain companies that are definitely not on our side, right? But I'm just saying, all companies will act the same way, I think, given the same circumstances. That's unfortunately the reality, right? Let's see, what else? So this is from Zarg. I was having kernel power 41 issues for months after buying my PC. I uninstalled Logitech G Hub, and that finally fixed it. Oh man, I have to do a video on this. I was actually talking to Linus from Linus Tech Tips about potentially doing a joint video on the problems with Asus Armory Crate, Gigabytes, whatever the hell that's called, MSI's version of this too. I've used them all. They all suck. They all cause performance issues, and I was thinking about doing a video where I show what the actual performance hit is. The problem is, if you saw, I have a video where I talked about, I spent 2 months trying to solve a problem of my 1% lows were terrible. It was basically micro-stuttering. And it ended up being Asus Armory Crate. However, it was a particular RGB setting, and if you changed it to static or a different setting, the performance went back to normal. I mean, come on. It's very hard to find these things. And I replaced all of the components in that system. It's actually my gaming system that's to the right of me. Very, very frustrating. So I think that would be an interesting video to make. It could take forever to make because I got to hunt down the problems, right? I have a question here. I've had this question a lot. What's your take on PBO Scaler? So basically what PBO, and the reason it's not in my recent video is that I don't use it. But what it does is it increases the time that your CPU will be in a boosted state, right? That's all it does. So 2x, let's just say that by default, your CPU will boost to a certain frequency for, to a certain frequency for, let's say 10 seconds, right? What Scalar X2 does is it'll make that time 20 seconds, right? And so you should test it and see for yourself. But the reason I don't use it is a lot of the issues that have come out recently have kind of somewhat been involved with boost behavior damaging the CPU. So I'm very sensitive to boost behavior, and that's why I don't recommend it. Now, if I was trying for a max overclock, I might use it. I might play around with it. I don't think there's any harm in playing around with it. But from my previous tests, when you do 2x, 3x, it doesn't really change the behavior of games. And that's what I care most about. So I just don't think there's any point in using it. But again, play around with it and find out. You won't destroy your system by using it a few times. But the question is whether you leave it on permanently. And that's where I'm like, I don't super feel comfortable doing that. So that's my answer around PBO Scalar. All right. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. By the way, when I do play games, strategy games is my jam. I am super into it. What I'm very disappointed about is that there's not a new XCOM game. I know there's a lot of similar games, but I'm super disappointed about that. So hopefully Firaxis can get their butt into gear and come out with a new game soon, right? As much as I love Civ, I like XCOM a lot better. But lots of cool games out at the moment. I obviously, like most of you, have too many games in my Steam library and don't have enough time to play them. So that's a challenge, right? Let's see. So a question about where I was from in Australia. I grew up in Melbourne, so that's where my family's from. I still have most of my family there. So I'll be able to head back there hopefully soon. Haven't been back for a while, actually. I got to bring my daughter. She's now 7, so I haven't brought her there. So hopefully she's old enough that she can survive the long flight. An iPad is obviously helpful there. Let's see. Oh, okay. So there's a comment about my mic. I'm super happy. Someone in one of the comments to my video said, "Hey, I don't mean to be rude, but your mic sucks," and then helped me getting a better mic. I'm using a Rode mic. They're actually from Australia. So this is the USB mic. I can't remember the exact one. And then I'm going to start filming from my other rig, which is going to be looking back this direction. So my other rig is that side. And you'll be able to see the test stands and everything I use. So I'll do future videos from there. I'm using another Rode mic there as well because I really do like these. I wonder if I don't have a link to them. I wonder if they do an affiliate link or something. If they do, I'll provide one. Yeah, you can get them off Amazon. So yeah, I'll just provide a link there. It's a good way, by the way. If you do go to buy something and I do have an affiliate link, please try and use it. It doesn't impact your costs, but it kicks me back a small percentage, like 1 or 2%. So that's always helpful. Let's see. Have you played with aggressive memory mode? Any advantages over custom? Been running it since I picked up my new rig. So do you mean the aggressive memory mode for in the Adrenaline software, like that fast mode? I did show some data from that. It basically what it does is impacts the timings. So it's kind of like going into BIOS and adjusting your timings of your RAM. The problem is you don't have direct control over it. I've found it to be a bit unstable, and I get better results without using it. So I don't use that. So from John, you'd replied to me a while back. I bought a 9800 XG and 5070. Yes. So John, I do have so I was planning to do the 5070 versus 9070 non-XT video. But there was a bunch of hype around the 9070 XT and 5070 Ti, and I wanted to retest because I found that the drivers did impact results. So that'll be my next video. The next GPU video after that will be 5070 versus 9070. Appreciate you waiting, but yeah, that's coming, right? My 5070, which was actually given to me from Nvidia, it's a Founders Edition. It's the only thing they've given me, but what's great is they gave it to me. I didn't have any drama with them at all. They've actually been really good. I overclocked that on a live stream a little while back, and it overclocked an amazing amount, like 20%. So I'm looking forward to testing that. That'll be in a coming video. Let's see. All right, so High Caliber asked me to say more about the community chat. So to be honest, I haven't used it. I've replied to someone that used it. I think you can go to my community tab. So if you click on the Blackbird PC Tech logo on YouTube, I think you can access it through there. But if anyone else knows how to access it, please let us know in the comments. I haven't. I'm not sure if the creator can access it. I have my own community tab I can do things on, but I think it's the same, but now viewers can use it, right? So yeah, feel free to jump in there, share whatever you like, right? Well, within reason of the rules, right? You know, I have just basic rules, right? Please be respectful, don't share illegal things, right? So try and keep it somewhat on topic to PC tech, that type of thing. I had some, there was a comment here from Azalea about Armory Crate. I had some issues on my test stand on Armory Crate that took me a couple of hours to figure out the other night. I thought that it completely destroyed my system. And anyway, I was able to use that Revo uninstaller to really get rid of everything and go in. I had to manually go in and delete everything and then try reinstalling. It was crazy. Let's see, what other question? Yeah, so Blue Rogue, I do have a Blackbird PC Tech shop, and my logo, I have t-shirts with my logo on it. I have water bottles, coffee mugs, and on the back I have It's Just Not Rocket Science. So check those out. I haven't really promoted them much, but yeah, they're pretty cool. I bought a couple of them so I could use them, just to make sure that I got the logo in the right place. So there's not a lot. There's just the simple logo on the front, and then on the back, it's what logo is it on the back? Let's see. This screen is. Oh, here we go. I had this screen too large here. So it's not sure if you can see this, but it's this Blackbird PC Tech. It's not Rocket Science logo on the back, and then it's the circle logo up the top right here of the screen on the front, kind of on the lapel area. And they have women's and men's. They have all different colors. So check that out. It's the store is https blackbirdpctech.store, right? So you should be able to check that out. And I want to add the Blackbird Army stuff there as well, right? Let's see. Last question, and then I'm going to wrap things up here. From Blue Rogue, my little bro has a 12700K. Is the 9700X noticeably better? From a 12700K, I do believe it would be. I don't know how much. I would have to go. I haven't tested them against each other, so I would have to go and test that. The system itself, it depends what he's running. Obviously, if you're running 12700K with slow RAM, then yeah, I mean 9700X with DDR5 6000 will be an upgrade. But I think also the entire system will be an upgrade. And then the other question is the 12700K running with DDR4 or DDR5 RAM? So we would have to look at that and see. But yeah, I think it would be noticeable. And again, you know, if you're running high resolution, high graphic settings, the importance of your CPU lessens, right? It doesn't go away. It's still very important, particularly in some games, but it does lessen, right? So before I wrap things up, let me just jump to, let's see. All right, so the next giveaway, and it's to celebrate hitting 20,000 subs, which I'm nearly at, is going to be from InWin has decided that they would like to partner with me. They've got a brand new case out. It's, I think, awesome looking. This is it. It's the Prism. What's cool is that the glass you can have be see-through or kind of darkened, which is very cool. It looks amazing when it's lit up. Lots of really good airflow. You can see that here. You know, hide away your PSU with all the cables. So I'm planning on doing a build on the channel with this. They're sending me fans and other things as well. And then we're going to do a giveaway, and InWin's going to ship that to you as part of that. So stay tuned for that. I haven't announced it yet. It's just, I mean, I guess I just announced it now. But I think this will be something fun and different. I love the shaping, by the way. This kind of really resonates with me. I tend not to like the curves as much as the kind of the angular shape. I guess it's from kind of like F-117 stealth days at Lockheed. So I love this. I saw this at CES. Yeah, and they've been really cool. That the parts haven't arrived yet, so that should be here this week. So give it a few weeks, and then I'll announce it as I do the video. But yeah, if you didn't win today, obviously enter this competition when I announce it, and this will be an opportunity to get an amazing looking case. I think we're also going to give away AIO fans, what else? And a PSU, I think, as well. So that'll be pretty cool. I might do a survey as to what system to build in this, whether I do AMD or Intel. I got to think about that. I might do a Project Zero build. We'll see. But that would force it to be Intel, so we'll see. So that's it for today. I greatly appreciate all of the support on the channel for all of the videos and the live streams when we do these. I also want to say another congratulations to DeZeus, which is AJ, for winning the 5070 Ti. I will get it, let's see, I will get it shipped to you this week. And then, you know, once you put it in your system, I'd love you to share a post with the community and show it working in your system. That'd be great. It's a great card, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So congratulations. Thank you to all the people like Azalea that became new members today. I appreciate that too. And all of the support you give the channel. It really does help a lot, right? It's costly to run a channel. And I really haven't figured out how not to lose money on the channel yet. But I'm working it, right? I got a few cool things that I'm going to announce to the community in the future that should help with that. And I want to avoid becoming one of those channels that, you know, like every 2 minutes in the video there's a new sponsor, right? So I want to avoid that as well. So I'm working it. So hang in there. I really do appreciate it. Go enjoy your weekend. New video coming next Friday. Oh, one last thing. I do have a new series coming out. It's going to be a little shorter videos. It's going to be called True or False, where I take like a comment that someone's made and explain whether it's misinformation, whether it's true or whether it's false. So that, I think my first video in that series will come out in a couple of weeks. That should allow me to get more content out while I spend more time testing, right? So that'll be a lot of fun. So again, if you have any comments, questions, other things, reach out to me. I really do appreciate you all. I love this community, and I'm really excited about building this together with you. So have a great weekend. Bye for now.